Hey, for this week's weekly wash, coming to you from Crantock, it's at the end of a spell of glory-prone conditions we've had for the last couple of weeks before the wind's now setting in. Wind sets like it's going to come. For the bank holiday weekend, there's stacks of conditions coming in for the wind sports, kiting, winging, it's all back on the cards. Give us a shout if you want help planning a session. In the shop, we've got a delivery, exciting stuff, pocket rockets, we're stocked up. Kaohi leashes, we're out of the Invisi leashes, got a new order coming in. And Zappel boards arriving next week, so give us a shout if you want one of those. And new products coming in hot from Army and Ozone coming soon. So if you want any early info, want to put your name on something, just give us a shout. So a good forecast ahead. But this week, bulk of our newsletter, we're going to have a bit of a chat about prone. I'm hearing a lot of grumbling in the wind sports scene that it's been a bit of a crap spring for wind sports. There's not been a lot of conditions here in the UK, but here in Cornwall, the prone scene's been absolutely buzzing. Conditions have been going off, endless pretty much. So I wanted to get in, and lucky enough to have in Tom Earl.
Hi Chris, all right?
Hello Tom. It's good to get Tom involved. If you follow prone, you'll know Tom. If you foil, you should be following Tom. He's really pushing the limits, right, of foiling down here.
Thank you very much.
So thanks for coming on board. Thanks for having you here. Be good to get a bit of info from you ultimately.
Yeah.
You've been foiling Wana?
Since second year of COVID. I think that's about 3-4 years now, isn't it? Yeah.
And you got some gear?
Yeah.
Figured it out?
Yeah, exactly.
No one was doing it down here, right?
Oh, there was a few of the core lords starting it. Like, who would we have first? Like James Darling and Rob Small, and
cool.
There's a few of them that was already secretly just kind of doing it. They was like just started, but then I come across from the surfing side and kind of like it got a hold of me, like I'm sure it has done a lot of people. And then you realise like what an amazing place we live in for the prone. Yeah.
Really good. Because you came into it purely from surfing, right? No wind sports?
No, just literally from surfing. So naturally, the prone was the one that I thought, you know, would be the most transferable and
journey.
Appealed.
Pretty straightforward, pretty tough.
Yeah, it's a steep learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like with foiling, I think you get over that initial hump, which a lot of people kind of might give up with. But then once you get over that initial hump and you're up and riding, and especially once you get the hang of pumping, I think the learning curve gets pretty quick, doesn't it? And it comes thick and fast. Whereas surfing feels like more of a lifelong journey that's a bit more frustration, but maybe slightly easier initially with normal surfing.
Because I mean, you're pushing it right at the top of the game, pushing that elite level riding, but trying to take it back to those early days and giving people advice that, especially I speak to a lot of people that wing, and especially this spring, you know, they want something for the light wind conditions and they're thinking how to get into prone. Yeah. Any advice for someone that's getting started?
So bigger foil, that means it gets flying and you've got more time to get to your feet, to get on foil when that energy's still got a bit of push.
Yeah.
So pretty standard advice really. I mean, 12, 1300, not too high aspects. Would you kind of agree around that size?
Not going too big, because I feel like if you go too big for someone, it's hard to then hold it down.
Hard to manage, especially if you come from surfing and you're used to something that will go with you a bit more. A big foil tends to have a mind of its own and you're a bit too much of a passenger. But then that being said, if you go too small, if you take too long getting to your feet, the wave loses energy, and then you might not get on foil in time. So there's a bit of a compromise there, isn't it, foil size? But
and the pop-up, you know, you're coming in, it's very different in how to get to your feet. Any advice on that pop-up?
Well, if you don't surf already, I think having maybe like a lesson surfing would be very beneficial.
Worst thing I ever did, I got into it and couldn't really surf, and I went straight down the prone route, and I wish in hindsight I'd have done exactly that. Yeah,
because you need to know how to surf, to read waves, positioning in the lineup, how to paddle for a wave, and then of course the pop-up. So that's that huge section you need to learn, which you wouldn't get from winging or maybe the other wind sports, which you need to get before you even can worry about flying the foil. And it's the same with surfing. You spend 90% of your time surfing, paddling around, not actually riding waves. So I think that's a big skill you kind of need to get the hang of.
Good advice.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people as well, they get to that point, they're maybe popping up, they're kicking off the back and trying to pump. Yeah. And there's this almost this wall that people get to where maybe they can pump out and nearly connect on, or get to one wave but not get to a second wave.
Yeah.
Advice on pumping?
Well, it was just with Rachel, Mike's girlfriend, Rachel, not the other day actually, and I was just she's at that stage. Yeah. She's a kind of perfect example where she's popping off a wave and she's pumping to the next. I think the first advice is look at the conditions, because you don't want to ever pull off a wave and pump straight into the wind to start with. So even if pumping to the next wave, the shortest distance might be to pump straight out to sea to it, if that wind is a little bit cross shore or onshore, you're better off using the wind a little bit and kind of crabbing sideways out to the next wave. So let the wind help you and push you along a little bit. So be aware of the wind direction to give you half a chance of getting there. And then peel off the wave a bit earlier. I think if you want to learn to pump, you might have to sacrifice a bit of the riding on that wave you initially take off on, which can be a little bit kind of, you don't want to do that because you finally got up on a wave. The last thing you want to do is pull off it and risk falling. You want to enjoy it, don't you? So you got to be mentally ready to actually really want to learn to pump. Yeah. Pull off the wave with loads of speed. Be very aware of your mast height. So if you drop down too low on the mast, you're going to obviously get dragged from that extra mass in the water. So keep the foil high in the water. Hopefully there's a wave right behind so you don't have to pump too far, and just be really aware of the angle of your board. Try not to dolphin too much. That'll scrub off speeds. Try and keep the board quite flat. Play around with foot pressures. Maybe more of an even footed push might work better for your foil.
So you have quite a narrow stance when you're doing a long pump, yeah?
I think for pumping, if you're going too far, you want to shift your stance closer in.
Yeah.
So you can use both feet evenly for each pump. So if your stance isn't already a bit narrow, pull it in a little bit. Make sure your back foot's over the mast.
You've talked to me as well about not kind of exploding on the push or the jump, but trying to keep a fluid motion through it.
Yeah. So just it's different. Foils kind of respond differently to different types of pumps. So you might need to like push more gradual through the whole pitch cycle, or some of them like it like a short, sharp stamp high on the mast, like a high aspect prefers to be kept level and like a short, sharp stamp on the top, but maybe a more surfier wing likes a little bit more of like an even push through the whole cycle. And it's just what's so fun about it. There's so many different ways to pump a foil, I guess, you know. And you just got to kind of figure it out. But I think that's the best tip I can give for starting out. Pull off the wave early with loads of speed and don't pump straight into the wind. Smart. I think that will help a lot, because Rachel was peeling off and pumping straight out into the wind, and I think she'll be able to do it now if she just goes with the wind a little bit, like use the wind for your advantage and just let it carry you a bit. She's
doing great.
Yeah, she's really good. Progressing really fast. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the only girls down here that's doing it, that's pushing it, that's always out on her own in a crew.
It is good to see.
F1 international rider, you've got your pick of everything that they use. What's your quiver?
So if I could only pick 3 foils, which they do, it would be the skates, and I'd have 650, 750 and 850. For me, that covers everything. My focus is prone, and I just like the skate. I think it's
loose, it's fast.
Exactly, yeah. It does what you want a foil to do, like, and what I mean by that is the whole idea of why we foil is we like the efficiency and the glide and being able to pump. So an aspect ratio 8, it's still high enough aspect to have efficiency pumping, but then at the same time, when you do get on a wave, it acts like a surfboard and it carves and surfs. So for me, it covers all bases, and I don't like to play around too much every day thinking about what foil do I want, what foil do I need. So I just go up and down through those 3 sizes depending on the wave size, really. And
tails?
Well, we've both settled on the same tail, what we like, isn't it?
Yeah.
We both like the 161 carving. So that one was initially designed for wing in F1, say, but we both like it best for prone.
It's a bit faster, the pressure's nice.
Yeah, and I think it pumps better as well. It feels a little bit more efficient in the pump. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the other tail's meant to have a better low end. I'm not sure. I wouldn't like to.
But you use the same tail across all those sizes.
Exactly. Yeah. I use that XS 161 carving. Yeah.
Every now and then you bust out the Eagle X or the Momentum. It's got its place.
Yeah. So I really love the Eagle X's on the foil drive, and the Momentum's on the foil drive. They are higher aspect, and they can be a lot of fun to mess around on when the wave's really small and you just want a different feel. But for like going fast on lumps that don't really break, when you don't really have to fit in a curvy wave, I think they're insane fun. Like I imagine for winging, the Eagle X's would be
keep up with the bumps.
And be really fast.
Momentum or Eagle X? If you had to pick one.
So Momentum, I was thinking about this the other day. This is the great thing with a foil drive, and you can chase bumps out to sea, and I can switch between the 2 foils and get a really consistent feel of what's going on,
Yeah, yeah.
accurately. And when I've been between the two, I was like, well, the momentum does exactly what it says on the tin. It's the carrying momentum from one bump to the other. It's not actually as fast, I don't think it feels size-wise, like for like, as the Eagle X. But what it does do is, if you peel off a bump, it maintains speed for you to get onto the other. When it comes to like staying with the bump, I feel like the Eagle X is better. Like the 800 Eagle X, when I'm foil driving, is insane. That to me is like the best. My favorite foil for foil driving is the Eagle X.
Such a good balance.
It is just perfect. And then if I don't know, say it's like really low energy bumps, the momentums feel pretty crazy. The low end on the momentums, even though you look at that thing and you think that is like a knife, the low end's really, really good.
Going,
I
cool.
wouldn't be put off with the low end. And I guess for winging, the momentum's probably really fun
just again,
as well.
keep it going. Keep it going.
For sure.
Sick, cool. And generally mast length, we've been chatting about this quite a bit lately down here.
Well, Josh Koo come and visit as well, didn't he, with his 75?
And you on an 85?
I'm on an 85, and he made me look at that a little bit more, because I've just gone 85 and I've stuck with that for a year or two now. But he come down, and that few days he visited, it was tiny, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I was next to him, stuck on the sand, and he was up and going right next to me. And I was thinking, hang on a minute, am I missing the trick for the small days?
But you like the 85, yeah?
The thing is, I don't tend to prone foil when it gets that small here, because I'll either whip the foil drive on and blast out to sea and chase some bumps in the middle of nowhere, or I find something else to do.
Yeah, fair.
And for me, I like the 85 because it's more like mast length is more forgiving in pitch. You don't breach as easy, and it does have like a nice feel, like it loads up and kind of unloads through turns. I guess there's more of the mass there to flex, and
a lot of guys, you know, and a lot of our following is wingers, you know, and they're thinking, can I get into prone? What do I need? And an 85 is fine. Like you can learn,
think it is.
as long as your location's deep enough where the break is.
Exactly. I think ideally, probably learning on a shorter mass, like a 75 or 80, maybe would be a better idea.
Especially if it's a beach break,
exactly.
not a bar.
And you might not get on foil soon enough before you run out of water. So I think maybe a shorter mast is beneficial. I also think from going between shorter masts, you do have slightly more control over the foil with a short mast.
Yeah.
But it's just a compromise that I've took. I like the 85. So maybe, I don't know. I'm going to order some shorter ones actually. And maybe in a few weeks or months, maybe I'll be on the shorter one again as well. You just never know how you feel, do you, I guess? And
tell us about the board. Because this is your pro model board, the Nano?
Yeah.
So it's pretty different because it's chop tail. It's quite different to what the market's doing, which is kind of narrow, long, mid-length boards, early paddling. This is a full performance board, right? Yeah. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, so it's like an evolution of the boards that Amos has done. It's got all of his like themes he's had along the way, but I wanted a complete chop tail model because I tried one and I kind of felt the difference in chopping off the tail. So it's fairly short. This one I like best is a 3.9. So it does seem like quite a daunting length. Even for me, I come off like a 4.2 Spitfire and I'm thinking 3.9 is that, but all that volume is packed in. It catches the waves just fine. Having the chop tail and nothing behind the mast just does something really nice through turns.
It blew my mind trying it, how different it made exactly the same setup feels so different with this. It's kind of stiffer on the yaw, but looser on the roll almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it stabilizes. I mean, if you were to get technical and some, you know, it is making it slightly less twitchy in yaw.
Yeah.
But it does want to roll. So it forces you to carve more through your turns rather than pivot, which I think feels like you're foiling more powerfully, I guess would be the word.
Yeah, you can attack it more.
It feels like it. And sensation wise, at the minute, I prefer that feel. And that's all I ride. I ride in everything. You know, if it gets smaller, I'll just put a bigger foil on.
Sick,
it worked. I really love how that one's feeling.
Last thing then, your other sponsor, Foil Drive. So you spend you're a foil drive rider. We're seeing a lot more foil drives out on the water. It's blowing up, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the year of the power wing and the foil drive.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Those things everywhere. And I think especially because it's been a pants year for wind, so many people are looking for another option and you can buy that access into prone. And if you've not decided to give it the time that it needs, or you're not lucky enough to be at the right location, you can bolt one on and instantly you've got a no wind sport.
Yeah.
But how, in this location where you've got the surf or we've got the wind, how does it fit into your program?
I think foil drive is the most insane tool for the right conditions. So, and also I'd say foil drive has definitely improved my overall foiling. The ability to be up on foil so much makes you take more risks, makes you play around with more things. I mean, you can imagine if I'm up on foil permanently for an hour, you start thinking, oh, let's try that, let's try this. Yeah. So it really does improve your foiling. I don't like to think of foil drive as like an endpoint discipline. So for me, it's not like foiling is now just foil drive. Like I've seen a lot of guys end up going and doing. I kind of get it. I understand why you'd do that. But for me, like the prone, I think is king. I think prone is as close as you'll get to surfing. I like my equipment to weigh like nothing.
Yeah.
But that being said, if someone said to me right now, I'm taking your foil drive away, I'd probably be really upset. I don't want anyone to take my foil drive away because I love it.
But you don't often use it in pronable conditions.
Exactly.
No, you use it in like downwind style conditions.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think if there's a wave that you can paddle into and get up onto foil, and then that same wave will run for a long way, so you can ride it for ages without having to pull off and pump. I think for me, I'm like, well, I don't see the advantage of the foil drive. Like I prone in those conditions and I put to practice all the things I've learnt foil driving and all the other bad days. So for me, at this location at Crantalk, for instance, it seems ridiculous to use a foil drive. I mean, it's upset a few people and we just think, well, there's no point. This is a fantastic wave to prone. But then I'm on my foil drive, I'd say almost daily, using it in loads of other different places, like especially out to sea. Like just last night, for example, there was that northerly come up and I just blasted out to sea at Newquay Bay and then was just like riding downwind lumps all the way in to like, you know, around the back of Cribber and it's just, and you're out there just thinking this is insane. Without this piece of equipment, I wouldn't be doing this. And then unlike a downwind sup, I can now get back to my start point. No, I've had no one needed for logistics of getting from A to B and it's just the most insane tool. And then random locations where there's no one out, you can do a bit of surf foiling on it. And
it is sick to see. There's been a lot of it that I've seen this sort of springtime, how a lot of guys which have maybe struggled to get into prone, it's given them that leg up.
Exactly.
You know, and they've gone to that point where they can now get up consistently, they can cruise along, they can kick off. They've been using the motor, but now they're starting to pump out. And then to see some of them then decide to shed the weight, and it's been that leg up to get into the sport which started them on the journey. Yeah. It's like, what a tool.
Exactly. We're seeing the guys here now who've, I'd say most of the main guys who foil here, they've all got foil drives, haven't they? But you'll see now, no one's really using it out here now to prone because they're actually able, it's taught them to prone. At the end of the day, that journey might have taken them a year or two to get to the level they're at, and they've done it in a few months. And now they're out here now putting to practice everything they've learned on the foil drive. So for a training tool, it's just next level. And then as a tool to get up and foil in locations you couldn't foil without it, I mean, it's, Smart. It's a really good product.
Well done. Yeah. Nice. Cheers, Tom. I'm good to chat through some stuff.
Maybe touch on the V2 skate for a minute.
Go on, tell us about it. We talked about doing a review,
This is mainly because I get a lot of questions asking me what actually is the difference between the V1 skate and the V2 skate, because probably it's common knowledge now it's come out the same mold. Yeah. So it's an identical wing. So let's do a proper review another time. Yeah. But what's your first impressions on it? Well, I think the main difference. That's it, right? Yeah. Yeah. We thought the exact same thing, didn't we? Pretty much. I think so. Yeah, because the only thing that's changed is a different carbon layup. So I believe they've made it stiffer in one place. Through the centre section. Through the centre, and then maybe there's a little bit more give just in the tips. I'm not sure, but initially it felt less forgiving, didn't it? Yep. And me and you both said the same thing to each other, didn't we? Pumps better, drives faster. That's it. But less forgiving. Less forgiving. Like it might start getting a certain amount of pitchiness at certain times through turns, but after that run of swell we've just had, you're dialed in now. I'm fully dialed in, and I would not go back to the V1 now. I've ridden the V2 a bit, so it just feels more high performance. Right. I guess is the best way to put it. So from that, what you're saying, it's faster or it's drivier? Like, what do you mean? I think just the feedback you get from the foil when you're pushing through the turn, it's just more of a direct, alive feeling, like more lively. That also is probably why we thought maybe it's not quite so forgiving, because
Yeah,
when you're not used to that, it might just like give you a sudden, you feel the energy a bit more. It kind of like lifts a bit more when you wasn't expecting it. But now I'm dialed in. I mean, I think that thing's insane. I've got so used to it.
So good to get you in. We got you involved, maybe do some prone coaching this year.
Yeah.
So anybody wants some advice, more advice from Tom, give us a shout at poseidon-watersports.com and could line up a lesson, get some advice, go for a session if you want to try any of the latest kit. Forecast says we're on to wind sports for the next week, so grab your wind gear out, learn to do your wind sports. It looks pretty damn good for the next kind of 7 days. And then the long range is saying we're back onto high pressure again. So prone sessions back on the cards, four drive sessions. Make sure if you are pigeonholed like I was into wind sports, venture into these paddle or lithium driven sports, because there's a whole new world out there, which means you can be having fun every day and it's worth it. So thanks, Tom.
No worries, Chris.
Thanks for watching.